with understanding anything about it, go ahead and ask. Sometimes it's hard to communicate through messaging what is needed. And so that's kind of why I want to address it a little bit tonight before we start, so that there's a little bit of an understanding there, a little bit more understanding. Okay, so we're going to, let me really quick too, since, okay, we went over the competency part. Let me go over the RC 1 through 4 really quick. It's pretty simple. The only part that some people don't quite get completed is the number 4 on RC 4.4. So it talks about you need to put a list of 3 or more websites and brief descriptions of each that provide current information, help families understand how young children develop and learn. So it says include 1 article for each website. Now, when you send me your content, you can just send me the link and that's fine. But when you go to put it in your portfolio, you need to have the article printed out. Your observer needs to see that. And it says the websites must contain articles that help families understand the development and learning of whatever age group that you are working with, okay? And 1 article must relate to child guidance. Okay, so any questions about that? No, we're all good? Okay. All righty. Well, let's get started. I'm gonna share my screen. We're gonna start out with, okay, Rebecca, yes.
I just got on here because I just got done coaching, but what you said that you were going to talk about the format, I think I missed that part.
Yeah, we did talk about it. So it's not really like formal. I'm not caring about that. I am more concerned with content and that these CSABC are labeled, because when the observer comes in, they're going to be looking for those points. And so I went into a little bit more detail about it. I'm going to post this video on Edmodo. So if you want to jump on there tomorrow, and it'll give you a little more information. And if you still have questions, just message me. Okay. All right. So let me share.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, so when we talk about cognitive development tonight, we're going to be talking, well, the objectives. Let's just talk about them. So the objectives are to know what early childhood cognitive development is, and then to demonstrate an understanding of the major learning theories, to recognize the connection between executive function and school readiness. We may not get to that really a lot tonight. And then to realize the importance of learning through play. Hold on, let me let Cortland in. So what is early childhood cognitive development? It is the construction of thought processes. So it includes remembering, problem solving, and decision making. So it's basically the development of your thinking skills. The book From Neurons to Neighborhoods, published by the National Research Council and the Institute of Medicine of the National Academic States, that infants are born with millions of brain cells, these are called neurons, that connect as a result of experiences during the early years of life. The group's research emphasizes the importance of 4 essential aspects of learning for young children. So these are really important in our profession and what we do. So first and foremost is experiencing loving and caring relationships with adults. That is essential for brain development, for good brain development, for healthy brain development. Also having many opportunities to explore the world through seeing, touching, hearing, tasting, and smelling. So that active learning, that's very hands-on, that is very experiential with objects and people. Then hearing and responding to conversation and language richness in the environment, and then experiencing play. Those are the 4 things that this institute has said are necessary for healthy brain development in children. Okay, so we're going to do for a minute just some little fun activities. And the reason I'm doing this is because for some reason, cognitive development is hard for people to remember what it is. And so these little activities are kind of just to help you remember what it is, remembering, decision making, and problem solving, okay? So we're going to do a little activity right now that has to do with remembering. Now, I have a tray of 5 items that I'm going to show you. I'm only going to show them to you for like 3 seconds. And then I want you to, in the chat, type the 5 items in order, if you can. Starting from well, this is my right, so I guess it's probably your left to my right, okay? All right, let me grab this. I've taped these on here trying to keep them on, and they're already falling off. All right, here we go. You ready? Okay. You got it, Mackenzie. Jordan, you're right. I can see where you thought that was clay, Gladys. Yep. Rebecca went with colors when she couldn't figure out what it was. That's smart. Okay, so not too bad, not too bad. Okay, so that was just to help you remember. Cognitive is about your memory, about remembering, okay? Okay, so the next little activity is going to be about problem solving, to help you remember problem solving. So I'm just going to do 2 little brain teasers. So what I want you to do is, if you know the answer to this, I want you to unmute and say it, okay? So what is special about these words? Job, polish, and herb. Job, polish, and herb. This one's kind of a tough one. I'm never good at these. I only know the answer because I'm looking at it. Okay, I'm going to tell you. What is special is that they are all pronounced differently when the first letter is capitalized. So job would be Job, polish would be Polish, and herb would be herb. So, okay, we're going to do one more. Okay, a man stands on one side of the river, his dog on the other. The man calls his dog, who immediately crosses the river without getting wet and without using a bridge or a boat. How did the dog do it? This is one of those ones that when you hear the answer, you're like, why didn't I think of that? No tries?
Are they like on the same side? Like is one up the river and one down? So
No, nope.
Is it frozen?
Yeah, you got it. The river was frozen. All right. Okay, so that one had to do with problem solving. So we've done memory, problem solving. So the next activity is going to be decision making. So I'm going to do 3 truths and a lie about myself, and you have to decide what is the lie. Okay, number 1, I've been to Haiti. Number 2, I play the piano. Number 3, I have a brother that's 10 years younger than me. Or number 4, I hate roller coasters. So put in the chat what number you think it is. I'm going to say them one more time. 1, I've been to Haiti. 2, I play the piano. 3, I have a brother that's 10 years younger. Or 4, I hate roller coasters. Okay, everybody who chose 4 is correct. I hate roller coasters. I only loved them for 2 years when I was a stupid teenager. So, no. Okay, so hopefully those just kind of help you remember what cognitive development is about. Let me share the screen again. I want to show you just some little funnies right now. Again, these are just something to help you remember. So here's something about memory. I thought this was funny. Yesterday, I changed everyone's password to password. Sent it to everyone in a memo, put it on a big sign on the wall, and printed it on all the coffee cups. Guess how many people called me this morning because they forgot the password? Typical, right? Okay, decision making. Here's the boss. He finally brought me into the decision-making process. He told me to shape up or ship out. Not much decision-making really made there. Why did that senior VP get fired? He did the worst thing any VP could do. He actually made a decision about something on his own. Oh, I missed, hold on. I missed the one that I missed one. Yeah, I was thinking problem solving should be second. Somehow I missed that. We're seeing a significant drop in customer complaints since we stopped answering our phones. Guess that's one way to solve that problem. And then I think this one's so cute. My son lost my gloves. He definitely problem solved with the puppets on his hands. Okay. What is early childhood cognitive development? Well, we kind of talked a little bit about that already, but young children are active learners. They learn best through experiencing their world hands-on in safe and trusting environments where they can explore using all of their senses and where their needs are met physically and emotionally through consistent and positive interactions with their parents, guardians, and caregivers. So that's a lot of words, but let's really think about that for a minute. I want you to think about the children in your care. And when they're allowed to really explore, when they're in the sand table, or when they're messing with goop, or even when they're building with blocks, whatever they're doing, think about all of the senses that are being used and all of the cognitive skills that are happening, the decision making, the problem solving that's happening. And it can happen so much easier and so much more naturally in a setting where they still feel safe to do those things, feel safe to take those risks, where they're not worried about, oh, I got some goop on the floor. You know, they can just really fully explore and enjoy themselves. And these interactions and experiences make the difference in what and how children learn, and they lay the foundation for successful lifelong learning. So we're going to talk tonight about the major learning theories. There's going to be a bit of lecture on here tonight. It's not my favorite thing. I really like us to be very interactive, but with this one, with a theorist, just kind of is what it is. I've tried to make it as interactive as I can. So all facets of children's learning are intertwined. Separating cognitive development from social, emotional, or language development is just impossible. It all happens simultaneously and together. So these theorists that we're going to learn about tonight have greatly influenced what we know about early childhood cognitive development and our understanding of best teaching practices. First one we're going to talk about is the most well-known, and his name is Jean Piaget. So Mr. Piaget theorized that young children think differently from adults. I think we would all agree with that. This is the foundation for all developmentally appropriate educational practices and curricula today. So he developed 4 stages of cognitive development. So the first was sensory motor, and this encompasses birth through 18 to 24 months. Then there was the pre-operational, toddlerhood through 7 years, concrete operational, 7 years to 12, and then formal operational, adolescence through adulthood. But we're only going to talk about the first 2 tonight because they're the only ones that are most relevant to our work at this time. So Piaget's first 2 stages of cognitive development. Let's talk about sensory motor for a minute. So this is birth through ages 18 to 24 months. So I know a lot of you work with this age group. Within this age group, infants are only aware, this is what Piaget said, of what is immediately in front of them, focusing on what they see and do, and any physical interactions with their immediate environments. They are unaware of how objects react. Therefore, they experiment by shaking, throwing, or mouthing these objects and learn about their worlds through trial and error. At about 7 to 9 months, infants begin to realize that objects exist, even if they can no longer see it. This is known as object permanence. So this is a very important milestone. This is a milestone. This is a sign that their memories are developing. For example, a 5-month-old infant who sees you hide an object behind your back will lose interest in the toy. She does not understand that the toy is still there because she does not yet understand object permanence. Okay, let me go back out here. I think I forgot to share the sound. Yes, I want to share sound here. I'm going to show you a video.
We go, recording.
All right, this is Nathan Bowles, and he is just over 6 months old. And I'm going to show him one of his favorite toys, a remote control. He loves to play with the remote control. Now I'm going to do something cool. Where is it, buddy? Where is it? Is it possible it's been here all along? There it is. It just magically appeared. Can you give it? Can you give that? Here we go. Where is it, buddy? Where did it go? Could it be? Should it be? Would it be? There it is. Love us some remote control, but where is it? How about one more time for a good show for all the skeptics out there?
Okay, so that was very obvious that that baby, that the remote just did not exist when it was hid. Could you tell that? That just no longer existed to that baby. And that when it would come out, it was like, oh, it's brand new. He had no clue that it was hiding under there. Okay, I have another one that I want to show you. This one is really cute.
We have discovered, and what was the other thing? It was object permanence. This is a follow-up to object permanence where when the object was hidden, hold on, the baby forgot that it existed. Our baby right now is past the point of object permanence. Watch this. You see the avocado? Where is it? Where's the avocado? Okay, so you see he knows now. This is it's amazing, it's amazing. This is illustrating something different. Okay, I just discovered this myself because I'm a scientist. The baby knows the object is gone, but he doesn't have the full sensation of his body yet to actually know where to go to get it. So watch this. Piece of avocado. You want this? You want this? Get it. Where is it? Where's the avocado?
He said it's on his forehead.
It's on your forehead. It's on your... Get the avocado.
It's on here, Ethan. It's on here.
Hey, hold on, no, don't, look, you see, he knows it's somewhere.
Oh my goodness.
This isn't, he knows it's gone, damn it, it's not on your head, it's on your forehead.
Here is
Hold on,
it.
he's
Here.
getting, hold on, don't help him.
Ethan, here. Yeah,
Ethan, there's something on your
It's
forehead.
on your forehead,
Here.
here.
Yeah, right
right here.
here.
I think he's hungry now. We've had enough science for the day. Hold on, let's just see what happens.
He wants.
Science. Let's try it.
Okay, so that baby, even though he just did it for a short clip, obviously understands object permanence now, but I thought it was really cute how he was showing how he's still not aware of parts of his body yet and things like that. It's really cute. You could finish watching that later if you want. You can find it easily on YouTube. It's really cute. But let me get back here now. So anyway, sensory motor stage is birth through 24 months. And children in that age, Piaget said they are unaware of object permanence at this time. I don't know why this keeps jumping through ahead fast here. Okay, hold on. There we go. Okay, so then there's the pre-operational stage. So this is toddlerhood through age 7. So Piaget believed in this stage, young children start to think about things symbolically. Their language use matures. They also develop memory and imagination, which allows them to understand the difference between past and future and engage in make-believe. Characteristics of this stage include egocentrism, seeing the world from his or her perspective, and difficulty understanding conservation, which is the ability to determine that quantities remain constant despite adjustments in container shape or size. So when we think about this stage, a child that is in this stage has this egocentrism, and they would assume that everyone is sad because they're sad. Hold on a second. I am trying to get back. I can see some of you, and I have lost that. Give me just a second to figure this out. I don't know where y'all are. Hold on. I don't know why it's not letting me see some of you when I'm showing. Hold on. Okay, I don't know. All right, let's go back. So also a child in this stage cannot understand that a half cup of water in a short wide cup is the same as a half cup of water in a tall skinny cup. So I have a short video here to show you about that too.
So I'm gonna make 2 rows of quarters. Okay, does this row have more quarters? Does this row have more quarters, or are they the same?
The same.
The same? Okay, now watch. Now, does this row have more quarters? Does this row have more quarters, or are they the same?
That one has more quarters.
That one has more quarters?
Yeah.
Why does that one have more quarters?
Because it's stretched out.
Because it's stretched out?
Yes.
Okay, so how many are in this row?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, how many are in this row?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So, are there more in this row, or are they the same?
The same.
The same?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we have 2 sticks. Is this stick longer? Is this stick longer, or are they the same?
The same.
The same? What about now? Is this stick longer? Is this stick longer, or are they the same?
That stick is longer.
This stick is longer?
Yeah.
Can you tell me why?
Because you moved it over.
So now it's longer.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me. I'm gonna pour blue water into each of these cups, and you're gonna have to tell me when they have the same amount, okay? Okay, tell me when this one is the same.
The same.
The same? Those 2 are the same now?
Yeah.
Okay. They're the same. Good. Okay, now watch this. We're gonna take the blue water from this glass, and we're gonna pour it into this glass. Now, does this glass have more water? Does this glass have more water, or are they the same?
Has more water.
This one has more water? Can you tell me why?
Because that one's higher than that one.
Okay, so you can clearly see there too that this child does not yet have an understanding of conservation. I like that video. I think it shows that really nicely. Okay, so then we have Lev Vygotsky. And he was a Russian psychologist, and he theorized that children learn not just by interacting with objects, but also with adults and more experienced peers. He introduced scaffolding, and this is a concept where adults and peers extend children's learning through conversations that use what the children already know to introduce new information. So we're going to talk a little bit more about scaffolding later on this evening, but I want you to think about this theory that children learn better by working around more experienced peers. This is why when we group children, we encourage you to not group children together who are all on the same developmental level. You want children who have more advanced skills with children less advanced skills. It's actually better overall. And even they really advise putting children together like 0 to 3, more than just like rooms of 3 and rooms of 4-year-olds and rooms of 5-year-olds because of this concept that it works better that way, even though we don't always do that. And he believed that pretend play is the most important vehicle for preschool learning, and that much self-regulation is learned through pretend play. So think about that for a minute. When you think about your children in your care and their self-regulation skills, when is that worked on the most? When is their lack of or need for it seen the most? Think about your classrooms and your children.
When they're playing in centers time, when they have to share the toys and they have to work together, and or they're playing in the gym and they have to, one wants a turn and the other wants a turn, you're constantly trying to help them figure that out.
Mm-hmm. So I personally would agree with him that this is true, that this is where children learn these types of things, where they learn their self-regulation skills. And, you know, we're there to guide them and to help them through that and to give them words and to teach them those skills. But, you know, I remember when I was a child that really didn't happen. Like, we were sent outside and we problem solved on our own and we figured it out and we learned how to, you know, get along. Sometimes it was not through the best means. Sometimes it was through fighting the strongest one, which I would not necessarily advocate for completely today. But at the same time, I learned, you know, I wasn't always the strongest one, but how could I work this out to my advantage in a different way, you know? So there were still things that happened, but most of that happened when we were outside playing with the neighborhood kids. You know, even then, that's how that worked, was through play. And that was a long time ago. So then there's Yuri Bronfenbrenner. And he was a Russian-American psychologist, and he was responsible for the ecological system theory. So this theory examines the impact of children's social environments on their development. And it was comprised of 5 ecological systems that impact learning and development. So the first one that he came up with was the microsystem. So this is the institution, the groups and individuals that most immediately and directly impact children's development. Their family, their school, their religious institutes, their neighborhood, and friends. So think about that for a minute and think about how those things had an impact on you. You know, did you go to a school where most of the kids were just like you, that they looked just like you, that the teachers were like you? Did you come from what I don't really want to get in that yet because that's the next piece, but like your religious institutes, how were you raised in a certain religion? Your friends that were around you, were they raised in the same religion? your family, or is your family pretty much the same as far as cousins, that type of thing. So you think about your development in this way. So when I think back to my development growing up, my family was very close knit in that I had a lot of cousins around the same age that I had a lot of relationships with. So we saw each other all the time. We lived close to another. We were raised in the same manner for the most part. We did a lot of play together, a lot. And so we developed a lot in the same way, and the experiences that we had. So when you think about that in your development, it had an impact on you. And there's the mesosystem. So these are the relations between the microsystems, or connections between contexts. For example, the relationships between children's parents and early educators. So were they trusting and were they positive? So, so for me, when I was growing up, I was raised in a family where my parents trusted the teachers, where they respected the teachers, where I was raised to trust and respect the teachers. And so there was always a good relationship between my parents and the teachers and with me. And I trusted the teachers because my parents did. Now, I can look at other people that I know, and even my husband and his family didn't have as much trust with parents based upon with teachers, based upon past experience that they had had. And so then when we were raising our boys, we were different, okay, in that sense that I had a lot of trust and respect for the teachers, and he was kind of not sure about them. And I could see how that affected sometimes the relationship with our children. Now, I think there's good and bad to both of that. I think sometimes you can be too trusting and not value what your child says, but I also think sometimes you can take everything your child says as truth and it's not. So, there's got to be a balance, but it still affects a child's development and how they respond. So then there's the exosystem. So situations in which children do not play active roles, but are impacted nonetheless. So things like a parent losing a job, that can really affect a child and their development. If the family is depressed about that, if there's stress in the home, that's going to affect the child. We think of children as being resilient, and they are, but oftentimes we think that these things don't impact them as deeply as they often do. And a lot of times their personality, their temperament plays into that. Some children are going to be far more affected by that than others. The death of a loved one. I remember when I was 7, my grandma coming to live with us, and she died at our home. And, that impacted me. And that's something I never forgot. So these things, they affect the development of a child. Then there's the macro system, the culture, the community, and the society in which the children live. Whether a child lives in a developed society or an industrialized country, what their socioeconomic status is, whether they're raised in poverty, whether they're in an urban area versus a rural environment, and their ethnicity. All of this affects a child's development. And then there's the chronosystem, the patterning of life events and transitions that occur in addition to socio-historical circumstances, such as births of new siblings or parents divorcing or remarrying. And these absolutely affect the development of a child as well. We all know about the different syndromes, the oldest child, the middle child, the youngest child, and those are real. And, if you've been the only child for a while and then another child's born, that's going to affect you. Even if you haven't been the only child for a while and there's another child born, that affects you in certain ways. Parents divorcing, that for sure does. They say that you mourn a divorce like you do a death. And remarrying, all those things, they affect the development of a child. Then we're going to talk about Erik Erikson for a minute. So he was influenced by Sigmund Freud's work. Erikson was a German-born American developmentalist psychologist. He devised an 8-stage theory of psychosocial development spanning infancy to adulthood. But only 3 are relevant to our work, so we're only going to talk about those. So the first was trust versus mistrust. So this, he said, happens between birth to 18 months. And this is where infants learn whether they can trust the adults around them and the world in which we live. Are their physical and emotional needs met, in other words? So one of the things I want to share about this is so very important that we understand the importance of being responsive to infants. Even though we may not realize that infants are developing this at this stage, this trust versus mistrust. So let's say that we have a baby, and let's say that this baby's mama is going through depression. Now, what I'm going to say to you, studies have shown that a child of an alcoholic actually has less, it has less negative impact on them than a child of a depressed mom. And I'm going to explain to you why. So young children, even young children, can recognize signs. So if your parent is an alcoholic, then they recognize empty beer bottles, empty, cans, empty whatever. And then they go on alert and they say, okay, mom might be angry, mom might not be available, mom might this, and they prepare themselves for that. They have that understanding because they have signals. The child of a depressed parent does not have that. One day mom is fine and happy and responsive. When I cry, mama comes. The next day, mama doesn't come. Or in the morning time, mama responds to me, but in the afternoon, mama doesn't. And that can actually be more detrimental to a child. And what is happening there is even at that very, very young age in infancy, you're developing either trust or mistrust in a child. Even an infant can understand, I'm being responded to, I'm not being responded to. And then they develop differently depending on that response. A child whose mom is responsive or caregiver is responsive to them and they know their needs are met, it has been proven over and over again that their brain develops better, quicker, healthier. A child who does not get that, the development slows down considerably. So then there's the second stage. So I always struggle with this word, autonomy versus shame and doubt. So this can happen between the ages of 2 and 4 years old, is according to Erik Erikson. Toddlers and young children are learning that they are competent and can perform tasks independently. And those of you who have ever worked with children that age know that. Me do, I do. No, don't help. So adult interactions impact children's understanding of their own skills and abilities. Encouraged children become more independent. Children who are criticized and overly controlled begin to feel incompetent and inadequate and become overly dependent upon others, lacking self-esteem. So when we think about our 2 to 4 year olds and the exploration that we want them to do in class, we want to be encouraging. We need to set limits. That's always important to have limits, but we need to think about our limits if they're appropriate for the age group and what we can allow as far as risk taking so that the children can develop those feelings of independence and competence. And then the third stage was initiative versus guilt. So I said this happened between the ages of 3 to 5 years old. So children, I did a lot of misspelling on here. It's been a couple of years since I did this. Children are engaged primarily in play and are further developing their relationships with peers. Children are learning how to get along independently and resolve conflicts while developing empathy, a sense of fairness, and conscience. So conscious discipline is a curriculum that encourages intrinsic motivation rather than guilt. And that's something we really want to work on with children. We really want to motivate them through intrinsic means rather than by guilt. We want them to learn how to resolve conflicts while developing empathy. And that can be a really, really tricky thing. So in order to develop empathy, you really need to be able to establish eye contact with a child. So one of the things you can do as a caregiver is encourage eye contact with the child and between children, between peers. And when children are upset and they hurt one another and they upset one another, it's important that we teach the children to look at the other child and to recognize their feelings. But even as important as that is, what's really important as far as encouraging children and teaching them to be independent and not to be victims is teaching the children who are upset to be empowered and to state how they are feeling. When you have children in your centers that are having conflicts, let's say you have two children and one took the toy away from another, and now the one is crying who had their toy taken away. When you go to talk with them, I don't ever say, you took that away, you need to say you're sorry, give it back. Because that really is not teaching the children to problem solve. That's me solving their problem for them. The best way you can handle things like that is to come up and here's how I always start it. I always say, something happened. And guess what? They're going to tell you right away what happened, right? And so I don't make any assumptions because there's no way you can catch everything. You can't. I might have saw Johnny hit Billy, but I might not have seen what Billy did prior to that. And so I try not to ever make assumptions. But when you say something happens, it opens up opportunity for the children to express themselves. And, so maybe Susie says, well, she's crying and she says, Sally took my doll. And so then I immediately address the upset child. You should always go to the upset child before the one who's doing the harm. You go to the upset child and you say, you didn't like that, did you? Tell your friend, say, I don't like it when you take my toy away. See, those children don't always know what to say. They don't know how to do it. They are used to adults solving their problems for them. And in order for us to help them become independent and become encouraged, they need to learn how to use appropriate words. And I can't just say to her, use your words. Well, she doesn't know what words to use at that age until I coach her and until I teach her. And here's the thing too, some kids you can say, use your words, and they're going to say some words you don't want them to say. So, saying something like, tell them you do not like it when they take your toy away. But here's the other thing. So that child that wanted the toy, maybe they didn't know how to get the toy. So I'm not going to treat them as a bully. I'm going to treat them as a child that's missing skills, that they didn't know how to get that toy. So what they did was they grabbed it, right? I think that's perfectly appropriate for a 2 to 5-year-old to do that. So what I'm going to say to that child is, you wanted the toy. Next time you want the toys, can I have the toy? Let's practice. And then we have them practice, and guess what? They're going to say, can I have the toy? And the other child's going to say, no, right? It's not going to work out perfectly. But then guess what we get to teach? We get to teach self-regulation. So then we're going to say, it's really hard. You wanted the toy, and now you have to wait. I'll help you. What can we do while we're waiting? And so we have to teach children to be empowered, and we do that through encouragement. Okay, let's move on here. So the next one we're going to talk about is Abraham Maslow. And I like this one a lot. So he developed a hierarchy of needs in which he theorized people's basic needs must be met before they can reach their full potential. So the first one down here, this physiological. So these are your basic needs, right? Air, water, sleep, shelter. Everyone has to do that. Nobody is going to be at the top of their game if they're sick, if they don't get enough sleep, if they don't have a place to rest that is safe. You're just not. You're never going to get up here if this is not met. The next need is safe and security needs. So feeling safe and secure physically and emotionally within the environment. So first we need just our basic needs, but then everybody needs to feel safe and secure. If you are not sure when you go home and you're a little kid, if you're not sure when you go home who's going to be there, if you're not sure if you're going to have food that night, if you're not sure if you're going to even be at your home, or if you're going to be sleeping in the car, if you're going to be sleeping at aunts, or if you're going to be sleeping at friends, you're not sure if you're going to eat at 5 o'clock or 8 o'clock, or mom's busy with her boyfriend, or even mom has to work a lot. She's working really hard and mom's just not there because she's trying to provide for you. all these things affect a child's development. So little children, they worry about those things. And we see a lot in Head Start. You know, children come in very hungry on Monday mornings in Head Start. And on Thursday, they stuff their mouths knowing that they don't get to come back for 3 days. And children like that struggle to get up here because they're so worried. They're focused on their next meal. They're focused on if it's going to be safe to be at home. They're focused on where they're going to be for the night. And not all of our children are privileged to not have that fear. And even children of what we would call privilege, even sometimes they don't have that in their homes and we don't know. But children need that, and they need that within our care. When they come into our classroom, they should always feel this because they may not get it anywhere else. And then love and belonging. So not just feeling safe and secure, but feeling like you belong, like you're part of something, having their social needs met, knowing that it's important to you that they are there. You know, we do the Wish You Will in all of our classrooms. And the reason we do that is to validate our children. So whenever our children are gone, we have this round circle thing and it has a heart in the middle. And it has pictures of the children all around, little thumbnail pictures. And when the children are gone, we put their picture in the heart. And you would be amazed at how meaningful that is to our children. When the children come back from being gone, they always go look and see if they were in the heart, always. And if they weren't, they're heartbroken. I mean, it validates them. It makes them feel important and part of someplace like they belong. And so we always want to be welcoming our children in and making them feel glad to be a part, even those ones that you're like, couldn't you just be sick one day? We should still greet them and make them feel loved and let them know that it's a safe place for them, even though it's sometimes hard on us. And then the self-esteem. So the need for self-respect and esteem from others. And they gain a lot of that through the encouragement that I talked about earlier. And then they're able to reach self-actualization. So this is a state of harmony and understanding that exists while working to achieve full potential and reach our goals. And, you know, I think we sometimes expect our children to come in right here, to act perfectly, to act right, to know how to resolve problems, to after a couple times of learning the rules, to follow them and to understand them. And so then I would say to you, as I say to myself, am I always in this state? Are things come up that I'm down here and I can't reach my full potential that day because I'm kind of stuck here, or I'm stuck here, or maybe I'm stuck here. Maybe I'm not feeling very respected that, you know, some days. But yet we want our children to live up here. And they need all of this before they can get up there. So then we have Howard Gardner. He was an American psychologist who had a theory of multiple intelligences, which included 8 different types, suggesting different learning styles and preferences. So the first one he talked about was linguistic. This is where someone would use language to express themselves and understand other people. So children who have this intelligence enjoy looking at books, telling stories, and using words to describe their feelings. I bet all of you right now can think of a child you know who has lots of language skills. They're very good at expressing themselves and describing how they feel. And maybe they're good at understanding other people, but also maybe not so much all the time, but yet their language skills are really good and they really enjoy books and storytelling. Then there's the logical mathematical mind. People who love to manipulate numbers, quantities, and operations. This is not me at all. Children with this capacity like to count, explore problems, and easily notice patterns. And I bet you can think of a child in your care that can count everything, that they're good with patterns, that they're good with puzzles. And then there's the musical rhythmic. So this is a child that may think in musical terms. Children with this ability with this ability hear and recognize patterns easily. I once had a girl in my class that had so much rhythm. It was unbelievable to me. She definitely had this gift. Then there's the bodily kinesthetic. So this is like your athletic people, using your whole body or parts of your body with great skill. So children with this ability tend to be athletic and they can move with ease. Bet you can think of a child like that too. Then spatial, visualizing the three-dimensional world with ease. Children with this ability enjoy puzzles, drawing, and or painting. These children may even excel at pointing out directions from one location to another. My son, my third son, Kyle, he had this one and the kinesthetic. So he was pretty athletic, but he had an amazing ability to see a basketball court like I'd never seen someone else see it before. Like he always knew exactly where everyone was, and he always knew the best place to throw the ball and everything. And I just seen it so clearly in him. There's the naturalist, understanding living things in nature. So children with this ability enjoy hiking, gardening, or learning how to care for the environment. So these children are the ones on your playground that they go find the bugs and they're their pets. And they love all things nature, all things natural. They'll get dirty and they just love it. They're always dirty. They're always digging up something. Then the interpersonal, understanding yourself, who you are and what you can, what you want to do. Children with this intelligence have a realistic grasp of their ability and challenges. Interpersonal, understanding other people. Children with this intelligence can figure out other feelings and abilities. And I've had many children like this over the years, that they are just so sensitive to the feelings of others, even teachers as well as children, and they just clue in. And then he did suggest a possible ninth intelligence, existential, questioning life, death, and spirituality. Children with this intelligence are deep, sensitive thinkers and feelers. So I want to show you where you can go if you want to take this quiz to see what yours is. So you go here. And I know that you can't access this just through here. So if you want this link, just email me and I will send it to you, which I'm not sure why it's taking so long to access it. You know what? Okay, never mind, here it is. So here's what you do. You just go in here and they're gonna ask you several questions. So you're gonna take this quiz and they're gonna tell you what your strong suit is, your strong intelligence, and then kind of give you a description of it. It's kind of fun to do. I don't know how many of you like to do those things, but I think they're kind of fun. And I like to see if they're accurate, because when I first did those, I was like, okay, I really think I am either this one or this one. And sure enough, I had one as my first and one as my second one. It was pretty accurate, I thought. So you might enjoy doing that. Okay, so we're going to take a minute. I had posted kind of late, so if you didn't get to do it, it's okay. I posted in Edmodo about the Missouri Early Learning Standards. Was anyone able to either print those off or make them available where you can access them right now? Okay, so what I want to do is show you some pictures, and then I want you to look at those early learning standards, and I want you to decide I want you to decide the domains, I forget what they're called on there, components, something like that, that you would place the activities you could do with this in, okay? So let me, again, find it here. Okay, so this one here, let me see if I can do something really quick. There we go. Okay. So what I want to do is, if you can tell me, this is crazy. There we go. I'm like, this is not working right. I want you to look at the material, and then I want you to decide where you think it fits in the Missouri Early Learning Standards, and tell me where you think it fits. So if you would like to share that, just unmute yourself.
For me, like straight off the bat, displays persistence was something that I came across pretty quickly. just being able to figure something out and pick them up and figure out if they need to go on, if they just sit there, what do you even do with this?
Mm-hmm. I agree. What else? What's something else that you can think of that? What is a cognitive skill? Persistence is a cognitive skill, but what is another cognitive skill that they would be using with these?
I even thought like mathematical skill too, because they can put them on the little thing and count them as they're putting it on.
Mm-hmm. They could, for sure.
The physical science.
Yes, that's what I was
Uh,
trying to look at. I was trying to get to see because I thought there was something under physical science. Yes, tell me what you thought.
It can show them like how to for like because I'm with the infant, so like their motor skills, like picking them up and finding where to put them, can
So
like, the
decision
whole-
making.
yeah, and then like even with like if there was different like shapes of the different blocks, so like say there was like a triangle and squares, they could put all like the triangles together and then like all the squares together, and it could show them like different shapes and stuff like that.
Yes, so I feel like all of this, exploring the properties of the materials, investigating them, solving the problems with them, deciding where they go, those types of things. Jess, I agree with that very much so. I think so. Okay, so let's look at this one. What do you think about this one? A lot of the same, would you say? Do you see anything different?
You're not sharing your screen.
Oh, well, that might be helpful. Sorry. I get lost in all this computer stuff sometimes. Can you see it now?
Yeah, that looks like a lot of like the mathematical and life science skill or physical science skills too.
Okay, so then let's look at this one. What do you think about this one? How is this a cognitive activity?
That represents observations about Earth and the sky and just where do these things come from? What do they feel like? Some physical kind of in there too.
Would you say they're using a lot of their senses? There's a lot of active learning going on with something like this?
Mhm.
For sure. Same thing with this one. And see, like these types of things, they're so easy to gather, right? There's not like expensive toys here. When my boys were little, I put them on the kitchen floor with wooden spoons and pots and pans, and they'd play forever.
I like that one for remembering too, those familiar objects like the egg carton and remembering those things and relating that back to what they're using.
Oh, for sure, yes. So these are different materials that promote cognitive development. Okay, let's talk about scaffolding for just a minute. I want to explain it to you a little bit. So scaffolding is basically taking a child where they are in their development and building upon that. So let me, here, I have something here. So there's 4 steps to scaffolding. So first you would identify content area with the children. So I don't know, in your small group or even at work time, if you're sitting down with a child and they're playing in blocks and they're building, you're going to identify the content area. So if they're building with blocks, a lot of times it's going to be mathematical. They're going to be doing things with math. And then you're going to consider the development of that child. So maybe, if you're with really young children, maybe they're just in the stage that they're just laying them down in a row. You know, I don't know, maybe they're in the stage where they're beginning to stack them on top of each other. Maybe they're in a stage where they're beginning to make structures. I don't know, but you're going to take all of that into consideration. You're going to take where they're at developmentally. And then you're going to provide support where they're at. Now, how that looks is you're going to talk about what they're doing. So if they're the child that's laying them down in a row, that's what you're going to talk about. You're laying your blocks down in a row. You laid the yellow one next to the blue one. Then you did the green one. Then you did the red one. Look, they're all in a line. You did that. You're basically just narrating their actions. So you're providing support right where they are. That's how you do that. You are basically just describing where they're at. If they're building a structure, you're again labeling what they're doing. Now you're not going to say, oh, you're making a spaceship. You're going to say, oh, I noticed you put 2 tall blocks here, and then you laid one across, and then you have another 2 tall blocks here. You're just going to notice. And that's going to invite the conversation for them to talk to you about it. So because you know what there's going to happen when you're telling them that, when you say use 2 long blocks that stand up, and then you took another block and laid across, do you know what their mind's doing? I did use 2 long blocks. I did lay a block across. So see, this cognitive development is happening. They're actually thinking about what you're saying and the processes. And then it allows them to elaborate on it. Oh yeah, I did do that, but I'm making a spaceship for so-and-so or whatever. We're going to the moon. You know, and that opens the opportunity then for you to scaffold. So then when you scaffold, you use a lot of open-ended questions. Oh, you're going to the moon and your spaceship. How are you going to get your spaceship to the moon? A lot of how questions, a lot of why questions. You want your questions to not require just one answer. You want them to have to use the thinking process to come up with an answer. And that's going to scaffold them. You could also say, so let's say they're wanting to build ramps for their cars and they're struggling with getting it to ramp, you know, to tilt. I'm not going to say, here, let's take a block and let's put it under this one to make it tilt. I'm going to say, I wonder what materials you could use to make your block go like this. Do you see anything in this room you could put? That's scaffolding. Does that make sense? I'm not providing the answers. I'm providing the help and the thought to get them to come up with the answers. And so even with babies, you can scaffold. So let's say that a baby is learning how to reach for things. So first I'm going to put things that are easy for him to grab and hold on to. And then I'm going to take one of his favorite things and I'm going to put it just a little bit out of their reach, right? Because I want them to not just reach in front of them and grab easily. I want them to begin to extend their reach and to develop their muscles more, right? So that's scaffolding for a baby. It's also scaffolding to a baby for me to say, oh, you're holding the rattle in your hand and you're shaking it. When I do what they're doing, I am doing that part about supporting at their development, but I'm also scaffolding because I'm adding language to it. And so with a baby, I might say, oh, you're holding your rattle. Shake, 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 shake. Shake, 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 shake. And then see if they do that. So you're just going to be aware of where they are and where you can take them to next. So that is what scaffolding is. So what I want to do now, this is tricky because I didn't send it to you. So I'm going to share this with you, the screen. And if you have a phone available, I want you to snapshot this page real quick. Let me make it a little bigger for you for a minute. Okay, hopefully everyone had a chance to do that if you have a phone available. So what I want to do, raise your hand for me if you were able to snapshot that. Okay, Kenzie, who else was able to? Are you the only one, Kenzie? Nobody else could? Does anyone not have a phone available that they could do it?
You took it off as soon as I clicked.
Okay. Well, who else has one available that can? I just need one more besides Gladys. Jordan, okay, so let me put it back up because I'm gonna put you in breakout rooms and I'm gonna have you do an activity. Hold on here. Okay, I can't see you girls, so tell me if you're done. Gladys, Jordan, did you get it?
I got it.
I got it.
Okay, very good. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put you in breakout rooms. I'm gonna put all of you either with Kinsey, Gladys, or Jordan, and they are gonna share a scenario. And then I want you guys to talk about that scenario and how you would scaffold it for that scenario, okay? And we're gonna go in the breakout room for about, I don't know, 7 minutes. Okay, so let's see here. I want to put Mackenzie in a room. And I want to put Jordan in a room. Mackenzie, you didn't go in the room. There we go. And I want to put Gladys in a room. Thank you, ladies, for being willing to do that. Okay, so Gladys, you're going to have Harley and Colin. And Rita. Jordan, you're going to have Emily, Mikey, Savannah, and Reagan. And then Mackenzie, you're going to have Emily, Cortland, Rebecca, and Sierra. Okay, we're going to go in there for 7 minutes. I want you to share the scenario and decide how you would scaffold it.
Okay, so Michaela had a good suggestion for this, or Mikey.
Okay, just a minute. I think we're just about got everybody back.
Okay.
Okay, all right, Jordan, so you're gonna share with us, will you tell us first the scenario that you did and then share with us what you thought?
Yes. At work time, Dawnette is reading a book to the teacher. She looks at each page, then makes up a story to go along with the picture. At one point, she points to the word dog and says, "That's my name."
Okay.
Yep.
So what'd you think about how you would support her where she's at and then how you would scaffold her?
Well, I mentioned supporting the fact that she understood that the word dog started with a D, which was the same as her name. So that was a good start to like let her know that I'm affirming where she's at.
Mhm.
And then we talked about how we could like have her just add on to the story. Like if we were like, oh, that's your name, so then what's this page about? So what are you doing on this page? So that she just builds on the imagination part of it.
Mhm.
And then Mikey said we could like to reiterate to her that it's a dog, and like not telling her way, we could be like, oh, well, is that your dog? Oh, well, are you doing something with this dog, or are you taking this dog somewhere? So she can start to understand that the dog is not her, but she still slowly gets to be a part of it.
Okay, good. Does anybody have anything want to add to that? Or I think another group did that one too. Yeah, Mackenzie, did your group add it? Did you have any other thoughts about that?
We just really like focused on the fact that she was recognizing letters. So like the DO in her first two letters of her name was the same as the DO from the dog. So we could just add on to that, like start putting more letter recognition in front of her to help her kind of focus more and start to build on that cognitive skill of learning letters.
Mhm. Right, no, I think those are all good because there is a few things going on there. There is that recognition of she's putting together the D with her name. And there is also her obvious enjoyment of reading and understanding that stories come along with reading. And then wanting to also encourage her imagination with that. So all of that, yes, all of that would be scaffolding. Mhm. So the other group, the third group, which one did you guys do and what'd you come up with?
We did a couple of them, but one we did was Anthony, a 3-month-old, grasps his caregiver's finger while she's holding him, and we just said that like, wiggle your finger around or something, make him feel like both sides of his finger, and then maybe like show him like, oh, he has like show him his finger. It's like, oh, obviously it's like a 3-month-old, so but just like playing with his finger too, so that he can recognize that like, oh, it moves.
Yeah, well, and with 3-year-olds, it is so much about touch. And it's just about even that, being right there, and even the language and the movement of your face, so even talking about you have my finger, you grab my finger. Of course, he's not going to understand that, but he is going to begin really soon to have responses to you. You know how you say something and the babies go, oh, 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 and you do it back and forth. So he's going to begin that. So, and even with the grasping, so if he's able to grasp a finger, then he can probably begin to grasp some other things. So yeah, there's a lot probably going on there too, even just at 3 months old. So do we feel like we have a pretty good understanding of scaffolding? Is there any questions about it? We're all good? Okay, let me look here really quick. I'm not going to share my screen. I want to read this to you really quick. So just about executive function and school readiness. So 0 to 3. So 0 to 3 is the National Center for Infants, Toddlers, and Families. And it has identified 7 social emotional skills which are essential for school readiness. So I want to read these to you because These are skills that we as caregivers should be promoting from birth. So they're not going to be probably what you would expect. So the first one is confidence. And this is developed when children expect to succeed and know that the adults will help them to do so. So when we think about our little babies in our room, do you think that we can build confidence in them, that we can give them the expectation of succeeding? Absolutely, we can, right? We absolutely can, as we encourage them about everything that they're doing. And of course, all the way through our 5-year-olds or 0 to 5-year-olds, we can instill in them confidence. I would really love to just do a whole thing on how to do that, because confidence is not saying good job, great job, you're wonderful, you're amazing. That actually creates dependence. Confidence is actually teaching children that they are capable and they are able, and yes, they did it, and how they did it, and narrating and encouraging them. But we want to do that, and we are able to do that with our children. Hold on a second, sorry. Okay. And the second thing is curiosity. And this is when children desire to discover new things. Curious children actively explore and investigate their surroundings using all their senses. And we've talked about this at almost every session we've had. We've talked about creating an environment that allows active learning and risk-taking for their curiosity. These are, again, let me remind you, these are the things that 0 to 3, the National Center for Infants, Toddlers, and Families has identified as social emotional skills, which are essential for school readiness. Then there's intentionality. So this describes a child's determination and persistence. So that's a scaffolding, providing them with opportunities to show this determination and persistence. Self-control is also known as self-regulation. It describes a child's ability to control their actions in age-appropriate ways. Relatedness. This is a children's ability to engage with others, knowing they will be understood and that they are a part of something. Capacity to communicate. This involves the desire and ability to exchange ideas, feelings, and thoughts with others. Let me stop here just for a minute. Sometimes as teachers, we don't allow our children to communicate all their ideas and thoughts and feelings. We stop them because it's time to read the book, or because it's lunchtime and it's getting too loud. Again, I think we have to have limits. We have to have reasonable limits. But children learn a lot through language. They learn a lot through talking about how they feel and you elaborating on that. So that's something we need to be really aware of and careful with. And then there's cooperativeness. This describes children's ability to engage in tasks or activities that balance the children's own needs with the needs of others. So did you notice anywhere on there, did it say they should know their ABC? They should be able to count to such and such number. They should know all their colors and all their shapes. Now, I'm not minimizing the importance of this, but here's what I'm going to tell you. If a child has these 7 skills, all the rest is going to come, unless there is an actual developmental delay in them physiologically, in their brain or somewhere, that keeps them from it. Your average child, they have these 7 skills, all the rest is going to come. We shouldn't be teaching ABCs in a 2-year-old room. You can expose them to them. You can have them on puzzles and whatever, but that's not age appropriate at all. What we need to be teaching is self-regulation. We need to be in teaching encouragement, how to use our words appropriately and what those words look like, how to ask for toys, how to get along with our peers, how to use our utensils, how to build with blocks, how to use toys appropriately. These are the things that we need to be teaching, and all the rest will come. I promise you that it will. We need to not get hung up on those things. This here is the National Institute, and that's what they are saying. It's been proven, it's been researched. So we're going to get done early tonight. One thing I would like for you to take time to do this week is if you would look in your book. Let's see here. It's this one here. Now, I have an old one, so I can't tell you what page to go to. It's in here. but there's a page that looks something like this right here. I know you can't really see it really good, but what it shows is it shows learning centers, how the child might play there, how you support them, and the cognitive skills they're developing. I feel like this is a really useful tool with parents, and it's in your book from 0 to 3 and then from 3 to 5, depending on what book you have. But you know, when your parents get upset because you're not just focusing on ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, this is a great tool. Thank you, Colin. She says 227. This is a great tool to use to show your parents what your children are actually learning. I mean, they're learning concentration, they're learning attention skills, they're learning weighing and measuring and balancing and classifying. They're learning planning and predicting, self-regulation and patterning. They're learning all these things, and parents just don't realize that. And it's not because they aren't smart, it's because they haven't been taught it. I didn't know it until I started teaching young children and went to school for it and got training on it. Then I began to understand that, yeah, they really are learning all these things as they play and as they work with these different materials. And I think it's a great tool to look at for you to realize everything that the children are learning, but then also to use with the parents. So you can say, look, this is what they're learning when they're in this area. This is what they're learning when they're playing with blocks. And it's just helpful. So if you get time to look at that, that would be great. Okay, so we're getting ready to end. I do want to look at the schedule. Okay, so you have your paper due tonight, but then you girls don't have anything due until January 25th. Yay, huh? Now after January, they'll come pretty quick each month. You'll have quite a few papers done, so really enjoy your holidays. And really, I really do mean that, because I really think that we're getting ready for some more shutdowns. And I was really hoping for things to get back to normal. I'm not sure they're going to be. So, you know, do some self-care these next couple months. Help your mental health. You know, think about that. You know, self-care is not spa days. It is, but listen, who can afford a spa day every day? And right now, who can even go to a spa, right? Because are they even open? But you know, self-care is reading a book. It's calling a friend. It's encouraging someone else. You know, take some time for doing what you need to do. And I know it's hard when you got little ones, but listen, you can't take care of your little ones if you're not doing well yourself. So take some time this holiday and take care of yourself. And so Gladys, you know, I don't know. You know, they didn't shut down last time, and I'm just kind of hoping and praying that that's the case this time. I will tell you, Head Start is shutting down through Thanksgiving until December 7th. I don't know, they're essential. I mean, how can people work and how can our economy continue to work if we don't have our childcare facilities? So yeah, I know La Petite didn't. They were amazing and they stayed open the whole time, and they didn't even have any cases until just recently. And so, but you know, the reality is that most children either do not show symptoms or don't have a large problem with that. So we're going to hope for the best. But like I said, as I say that, make sure you take good care of yourself and be ready to come back in January and get those papers done. You guys are going to finish this class and have your CDA, and you know, you're going to hopefully get a raise with it maybe. And I don't know what your companies do. Our company gives a raise if you get it. Hopefully, if not, then, you know, maybe further your education. So hang in there. If you have any questions about anything, I tried to answer. You know, sometimes a lot of you are working on the weekends and I won't answer you till Monday, okay? Just because that's off, but I will get to you. Does anybody have? Yes.
The CS2. Is that
Yes.
what's due tonight?
No, CS4 on families was the one that was due.
Yeah. Okay.
Because so CS2, ladies, it takes, I think tonight was, no, we still have creative to do on it. So CS2 involves 4 pieces. It has, actually still have communication too. So we've only done physical. It has physical, cognitive, creative, and communication. And we did cognitive tonight, and we've done physical. So we have 2 more pieces before we can do CS2. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions tonight? Okay, ladies, happy holidays. I will see you in December, but happy Thanksgiving for now.
You too.
Okay, bye.